guys, welcome back to Shadow Skull Studios. I'm Raven Wolf. We're back on another Friday deck list. This time, we're going with a really toxic, not the mechanic, but just a really mean deck list. This one is to stax out our opponents or shut them out of the game one-sidedly as we recur from our graveyard and have a lot of control pieces and removal. So yeah, this is not a deck you really want to play with friends. If you're just playing, you just want to be mean one day, or you just want to have a really controlled deck, here's the deck list for you. But guys, I have to ask, support the channel if you enjoy this content by liking or subscribing for more stuff in the future. Or comment down below, help out with that algorithm. I want to make this my main job someday, and I need some of y'all's help to do it. But let's go ahead and get into it. Our commander today is Muldrotha the Gravetide. During each of your turns, you may play a land and cast a permanent spell of each permanent type from your graveyard. So yep, this is the one where we're going to get an extra land, stuff like that. Invasion of Zendikar is to get us 2 basic lands on battlefield tapped and then shuffle. And if it ever flips, it's a mana dork. Going down, we have our Planeswalkers with Grist the Hunger Tide. The +1 will mill us a card and make a blocker. The -2 is the sack a creature, and we have removal. And then the -5 is drain our opponents, but mostly we want to do the +1 and the -2. Karn Liberated is to hand hate our opponents. -3 is to exile a permanent for removal. And the -14 is to restart the game, and we get those exiled cards. Karn the Great Creator is to shut down our opponent's artifacts. The +1 is to animate an artifact, so if we want to kill a creature, there we go. And the -2 is if our opponent exiles any of our artifacts, we're going to get them back. Kura Behemoth Beckoner. We have some big creatures in this deck, so in the ETB we're going to get the draw card. And the -1 is to untap a permanent, like a land or a mana rock, stuff like that. Narset, Parter Veils, will let us control stacks our opponent's draws, so only 1 card per turn. The -2 is to let us dig through our deck a little bit more to get a non-creature card. That's also non-land. Nissa Sid Animus is to make us really big creatures. The -1 is for removal for artifacts and enchantments. And the -7 is to kind of have us go in there and just trample over our opponents. Tasha the Witch Queen. So for her, the +1 mostly is to let us draw a card, and we get to remove instant sorcerers from our opponent's graveyard. The -3 will let us get to cast them and make a demon. Vraska Relic Seeker. This one will let us make a pirate for attackers or blockers. The -3 is removal, and then we get treasure. And the -10 is just reduce opponent's life total to 1. Random Realm Breaker will let us mana fix our lands. The +1 is literally just to make a land into a creature and to make it hexproof. Mostly though, the -2, mill 3 cards, put a permanent card from the milled cards into our hand. And the -7 is we get an emblem that is basically our commander, but better. We get to play cards from our graveyard and cast permanent spells. Going down to our creatures, we have Archaeomancer. ETBs, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. We have Azusa, Lost by Seeking, will let us play 2 additional lands on our turn. Birds of Paradise, which is a mana dork. Bloom Tender. Camellia the Seed Miser. She is a combo piece with Igra, Eater of All, to just keep getting a lot of sack triggers. Cemetery Prowler. It's going to be graveyard hate for our opponent. And for each of those things that we exile, our things get cheaper. Dothi Voidwalker is to, as we mill our opponents, we'll exile them. And it stops our opponent's graveyard recursion and death triggers. Deep Glow Skate will double all of our Planeswalkers counters on them, so they can ultimate sooner. And all of our 1/1 counters. Displacer Kitten, when we cast a non-creature spell, we're going to flicker some of our stuff for all our ETB triggers, or to protect it. Eternal Witness for graveyard recursion. Grist will, as we recur things from our graveyard, could flip, and it gets us into a Planeswalker that is create a 1/1 insect, mill 2 cards. And if a black card is milled, we get to put a death counter on the token. -2 hates artifacts and enchantments, and -6 for each creature card in your graveyard. We create a token copy of it, except it's a 1/1 insect. Hostage Taker is removal for our opponent's artifacts or creatures, and we get to cast them. Op Agent will stop our opponents for searching. Rotten Mouth Viper is Torment of Hellfire on a stick, because when it ETBs or attacks, we put a blight counter on it. Then for each blight counter on it, each opponent loses 4 life. And the player sacks on a land permanent or discards the card. Sakashima 1000 Faces will ETB as one of our other creatures if we need it to. Sakashima the Imposter does the same thing. Seaborn Muse will let us untap on our opponent's untap steps. Spark Double ETBs as a planeswalker or a creature. We have Tox Roll, which on each of our instep, put a slime counter of each creature we don't control. Creatures we don't control get -1/-1 for each slime counter on them. When a creature you don't control with a slime counter on it dies, we get a 1/1 slug. Pay a blue and a black, sack a slug, draw a card. Vorinclex, when this one ETBs, we get 2 forest cards from our deck, put them in our hand, and then shuffle, and then we can flip it. This one will mill 10 cards, put 2 creatures from among the milled cards onto the battlefield. Saga 2, or Chapter 2, put 7 counters on creatures we control. And then the Chapter 3, until end of turn, creatures you control gain. Pay 1, does it fights, and then it flips back into Vorinclex to get us 2 more forests. This Vorinclex is the Stax. Let's get the English version though. Trample. When you tap a land for mana, add additional mana, and then whenever an opponent taps a land for mana, it doesn't tap during their next untap step. Eager, Eater of All, will turn all of our all creatures into artifact foods. And whenever food is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, put 2/1 counters on Igra. That with Karn will shut down all our opponent's activated abilities. And with Camellia, if whenever we sack ours, we get to make a squirrel. So yeah, we have a bunch of stuff there. For our sorceries, we have Bubbling Muck. Until end of turn, whenever a player taps a swamp for mana, it produces an additional black. Culling Ritual. For this one, it's mass removal, and we get mana. And a Demonic Tutor for tutoring out combo pieces. For our instance, we have Assassin's Trophy for removal. And with Op Agent, they might not even get the lands. For Crumble, it's artifact removal. We have Cyclonic Rift for a one-sided board wipe. Or just a simple bounce one thing. Deadly Rollick for removal. For creature removal. And we get for free if we have out Modrotha. Fierce Guardianship is a free counterspell if we control a commander. Force Negation, another counterspell that will also exile the thing that we counter. Heroic Intervention for protection. Croson Grip for removal. Mana Drain, 4 mana, and it ramps us. And we have a Vampiric Tutor to get combo pieces. For artifacts, we have Alter Dementia to mill our opponents. Arcane Signet for Mana Rock. Astronaut's Altar for mana. Chromatic Orrery for mana. Commander Sphere. Conqueror's Flail is to stop our opponent from casting spells during our turn. Helm of the Host will make copies of our creatures. We have Lightning Greaves to protect certain creatures or our commander. Lotus Petal. We have a Mana Crypt and a Mana Vault. Mesmeric Orb for mill. Mycosynth Lattice to go with Karn to shut down our opponents. We have a Soul Ring and a Teferi's Puzzle Box to go with Narset to shut down our opponent's draw at all times. For our enchantments, we have Dance of the Dead for Graveyard Recursion. Decree of Silence will counter all our opponent's spells, especially if we flicker it with Displacer Kitten to put the counters on it, or to remove the counters. Leyline of the Void, from when we mill our opponent, we're going to exile their deck. Necromancy for Graveyard Recursion. Pattern Rebirth. When one of our creatures dies, we're going to tutor our deck for a creature and put it on the battlefield. Ristic Study is for card draw. For our lands, we have a Breeding Pool, Command Tower, Deathcap Glade, Dreamroot Cascade, Drowned Catacomb, Dryad Arbor. We have Exotic Orchard for Boating Landscape for a fetch land, 5 Forest, Hinterland Harbor, 4 Islands, Meteor Crater for a multicolored land, Opulent Palace. We have Overgrown Tomb as a shock land, Reflecting Pool, Swamp, Temple of Malady for a scry land, Urberg, well, it turns all our stuff into swamps, Vine Glimmer Snarl, Watery Grave, Woodland Cemetery, and a Zagoth Triome. And yeah, and this deck is a little expensive because it does have some high power cards. But let's go ahead, if we change it to the cheapest it can be, the deck is still pretty expensive. And of course, guys, we are going to play test it. So let's go ahead and get into it. We draw our card for turn. What we're going to do is we'll do a Hinterland Harbor and play tapped. Next turn, we're going to do a Reflecting Pool. And we're going to go ahead and cast Altar of Dementia. Next turn, we're going to do a fetch land. And we're going to go ahead and sack it. And it gets a basic swamp. View library. Bop, 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 bop. I saw that swamp. Put that in play tapped. I believe. Put it on battlefield tapped. And then shuffle. We can't really do anything with 2 extra mana. Our next turn. Control. There you go. No, we're not going to do that one. We'll do an Exotic Orchard. And with that one, we could do, if our opponent has something, we could do Necromancy, but we can also do an Ashnod's Altar. Next turn, we'll do a Swamp. We'll do Tasha. We'll do our +1 to draw a card. And there you go. Now we have Sakashima, copy our opponent's creatures. We have Archaeomancer, stuff like that. Next turn, we can do a Swamp. We can do our commander. But yeah, you see what this deck goes as our pieces too for protection, stuff like that. Let's go ahead and restart. Ooh, this one gets us a little more stuff. Let's go ahead, we draw. We're going to do a Snarl, revealing the forest. Turn 2, we'll do a forest. Hopefully we draw into a swamp. Next turn, that's a Dryad Arbor. We will play, but we can't tap it for mana, but that's fine. We have mana on our next turn. We're going to go ahead and do... Actually, this one's pretty bad. Dang, we're not getting the right cards. What's this one? There we go. This one's a better one. Put that in play tapped. On our next turn, we're going to do the Foreboding Landscape. We're going to crack it. And we're going to go get a forest, a basic forest. It comes in play tapped. And then we're going to go ahead and crumble one of our opponent's pieces, one of their artifacts. Like a Soul Ring or Arcane Signet. What do we want to do here? We'll play the slow lands. Next turn, we'll do a swamp, and we'll do a... Let's see, we'll exile their artifact. But we have a Cemetery Prowler. On our next turn, we're going to go ahead and do a swamp. We're going to do Tasha, and we're going to +1 Tasha to draw a card. And now we have answers for stuff. Our next turn, we're going to... Turn 6, we're going to play an island. And what we're going to do here is we're going to do a Mesmeric Orb, Conqueror's Flail, and then we can equip Conqueror's Flail onto our Prowler. Then we can swing at our opponent, or we can just +1 Tasha to draw a card again. Our next turn, we have a Toxrill. We can do the -3 for any of our opponents and sorceries. We can make our stuff cheaper with Cemetery Prowler. Our next turn, on tap step, 4, 5, 6. We'll say we mill 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we draw. So on this one, we're going to play our swamp. We can always crows and grip something. We'll say we minus for one of our opponents. Set is for 2. Oh no, we were at 6, so we need to add 1. So yeah, we do that. Let's say we made the demon. What we'll go ahead and we'll do, let's just go ahead and we'll do Assassin's Trophy to remove our opponent's piece. 1, 2, 3. We'll crows and grip something of our opponents. And then our opponents have been milling. Our next turn, see, that was 5 mana, so we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we draw. On this turn, what I want to do, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want us to cast our commander, and I want to view it. The land I want to play is going to be the Urborg. And for what I want to cast from the graveyard, we could do the Rhystic Study. 2, 3. Cast the Rhystic Study. And our opponent can't counter stuff if we still have that. I'm surprised, though, we haven't gotten a lot of our ramp, which is surprising. But then on our turn, we basically mill 8, and we're going to get a bunch of stuff like that, especially with our commander, and we start getting combo pieces. Let's go ahead and restart it one more time. Nah, I'm not going to keep this hand. Mulligan. This one's a little better. Let's say we play it out. For this one, we're going to lose the 2 life. We're going to Vampiric Tutor. View library. We're going to go get Urborg. Close. It goes on top. So on our next turn, we draw it. We'll play it. We're going to do an Arcane Signet. So we have Mana Rocks. On next turn, we're going to play a Dreamroot Cascade. 1, 2, 3. We're going to do Rain and Realmbreaker. And then we are going to... How many counters? 4. Set counters to 2 because we're going to minus 2. We mill 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. And we put 1 into our hands. Oh. Close the shuffle. That's not what I wanted. View all. We have to put we'll do Meteor Crater. Close. So there we go. And our land's tapped for all colors now. We go on our next turn. We're going to do a Meteor Crater. We're tap for green. Tap for that. And we're going to cast Bloom Tender. And we have 3 mana. I'd hold it up. Because on our opponent's turn, let's just say we counter one of their things. It gets exiled. Next turn, Reflecting Pool. Getting all of our colors. I'd say 1, 2, 5. We'll say we can cast our commander. And then we could tap Bloom Tender for an Assassin Trophy on one of our opponent's things. Or if we didn't want to do that, we could do Karn. And when we say we'll just +1 him, we turn Arcane Signet to a creature. Next turn, play a swamp. Because why not? View library. What? Actually, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to play the forest. set counters to 0. We'll say we +1 him, so move 1. We make one of our lands into a creature. We'll say we add a loads counter to Karn to try and keep him alive. We're going to tap Blue Cinder for 3 mana, and the Meteor. We'll do its Fierce Puzzle Box, and then we can do black and green for an Assassin's Trophy to remove one of our opponent's creatures. On our next turn, alright, so we're going to shift, send these to the bottom, and then we draw 2. Boom! Part of the Veils to go with Fierce Puzzle Box. We're going to shut down our opponent's stuff. But first, I'm going to go ahead and remove counter. We're going to mill 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to put Vine Glimmer Snarl into our hand. No, we're going to put Opulent Palace into our hand. We're going to play that as our land for turn. So we're going to do blue, blue, and the Meteor, because it doesn't matter. Narset, part of our Veils. Now our opponents are not going to draw ever. We're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 for Helm of the Host. And I don't think I can equip it. Nope, it takes 5 to equip, which is fine with me. So on our next turn, we do this. Our island goes to the bottom of the deck. We draw. Now we have an Igra, and this will shut down our opponent's creatures with Karn. But we could also, we're going to remove counters. We look at the top 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we get a non-creature, non-land card. We're going to get Demonic Tutor. So we go bottom, bottom, bottom. Reveal Demonic Tutor to our opponents. Tap for the 3 mana. And 1, 2, 2. We're going to cast Igra. Then we're going to do a black and the Druid Cascade. For a Demonic Tutor, we're going to view our library. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 mana. So it's something I can do with 4 mana. We'll do pattern. No. We'll do Fierce Guardianship. Alright, so now we have a Fierce Guardianship that we can cast for free on our turn. 2, 3, 4 mana. Jeez. We're gonna... We did that. Yeah, because that got us that... Have we milled anything this turn? No. So we're going to +1 Ren. And say we could also just add another counter to Karn. 3. Yeah, if I had it, I would do freaking Igra or Bloom Tender for more mana if I had to. Yeah, let's say we counter our opponent's things on their turn if they try to answer us. Next turn, this goes to the bottom, unfortunately, but we draw a card. And now we do a Mesmeric Orb, and at this point we're just milling our opponents because they are not drawing cards. Let's go ahead and restart it. We'll do one more to try and play test it. No, we are restarting that one. 1 lander, a 2 lander with no mana rocks, mulligan. This one's a better one, but it's still going to be sketchy as hell. You know what? Let's play it. So we draw for turn. We're going to play a Watery Grave, taking the 2. No, we're not going to. We're going to do a Watery Grave and play tapped. And we'll do the mana. Tap it. Conqueror's Flail. Next turn. Next turn, on this one, we're going to do a Forest. Tap 2. Let's say we take the 3. Tap, all mana. Fairies Puzzle Box. Next turn, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh, this is a spicy one right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a Dryad Arbor. We're going to cast Grist. We're then going to put Conqueror's Flail on our Dryad Arbor, because I think it's funny. This turn 3 is stupid. Next turn, Fairies Puzzle Box, trigger. We're going to remove one of our opponent's things, and then we go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Ooh. We're going to play Lotus Petal. We can't do anything with these two. So we'd go on our opponent's turn, or that turn. Oh, nice. We draw that, but it has to get shuffled away. 1, 2, 3. 1. Nope. 3 mana. Remember, we're on turn 5, but it's fine. For this one, we're gonna play Azusa, and then we're gonna tap for the Bird's Paradise. And this is turn 5 with all this mana. I wish we could have also done Karn if we wanted to, but it's fine. Going to the next turn, we draw. We put both these on the bottom. We draw 2. That's untapped. We're going to do the Vine Gummer Snarl. We'll come and play tapped. We don't have anything with counters. So it's one of those Deep Glow Escape. We'll have to stay in the graveyard, I guess. We only have 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. 5 mana, technically. It's kind of sad. But yeah, this one is also just really fun. I know that said it was the last one. Let's do it again. This one I like too. We'll do the Triome. Next turn. Pool. Doing the 2 life. Arcane Signet. And Arcane Signet, we'll say we destroy one of our opponents, so rings or something. Turn 3. We'll play a Swamp. That's kind of, we just got a lot of lands on this one. Cool. That one, we'll do that. We say we'll Cycle Rift one of our opponent's things, and we put a Necromancy to get one of their creatures, because I think it's funny. Next turn, do a black. Muldrotha. Turn after that, Island. Toxrill, because I think Toxrill is funny. If they counter Toxrill on the next turn, we play a Swamp, we cast Toxrill from the graveyard. And that's basically how this will keep going with Muldrotha, is just a bunch of toxic pieces. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this deck list. I'm going to have the link in the description. But I'll see y'all again next time. Bye-bye.